Thanks to Mike Cutler for a great first hour here at the Gary Sutton Show. And as we started hour number 2 today here on News Radio 910 WSBA, how many of you take a vacation? How many of you take a workcation? That means you take your work with you. You never really get away. And how do you feel if you're on the constant treadmill of work and no vacation really is possible? Well, that's a big question we're going to ask Michael Rose this morning, who's a workplace culture expert, as we talk about wired and tired. And Michael joins us here on the Gary Sutton Show. Mike, great to have you aboard this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
Michael, I was reading this article that was actually written by Bridget Schulte, latest research why everyone should take a vacation. And in our country, for some reason, and I think it says it here, we're one of the only countries in the world that really don't kind of provide for, I guess they call it a Great Britain holiday so much. Our mood is not as good. We seem to always kind of have morale sinking a little bit as demands rise while you're on vacation of any kind. And yet we find out when we study Europe, you're a little bit happier, live a little bit longer. What's this all tell you as you look at this whole thing?
Well, I don't know what it's telling us from the European work schedules, but I do know that, technology is certainly here to help our businesses, but in many cases, we can be so connected that it doesn't feel like it's helping. Sometimes I think it feels like it's almost hurting. But I think to kind of approach this from a very high-level perspective first is as technologies touching every single parts of our life, from workplace efficiency apps to the thermostat in our homes, I think that this notion of work-life balance is starting to disappear as well and being replaced with work-life integration. Our work and our lives are becoming so integrated that it's hard sometimes to probably see where the line is between, for example, your home in your work, or your home in your business, or your employee in their home, etc. And so what I try to do in my company is to really talk a lot about work-life integration and try to find that line and respect that as much as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're always on call the way we are right now, and people expect you to. I know some of the other days called me, and I was out. I actually went to the golf course for the first time yesterday in a month and a half, and someone called me, and I get this frantic call like, pick up, where's your phone? Geez, I need you for something. Well, it turned out not to be something very important, but yet they expected me to be on call. And I deliberately leave my cell phone in my car when I go into like a church or a theater or to the golf course, which is kind of like both those sometimes. And I don't like to be bothered at that point. Short of someone dying or someone in some bad shape, if that's happening, I may keep my cell phone handy, but I turn it down. But the point is, I'm not always on call. I want to get away a little bit every now and then. I suspect a lot of other people feel the same way.
Absolutely. And because technology, and let's just pick on the smartphone for a minute, because technology and smartphones have become so ubiquitous with our life, you mentioned church. I've gotten accustomed to taking notes in church on my smartphone.
Right.
I'm not texting. I'm not working. Clearly, I'm listening. I'm engaged. I'm in the moment, but I'm taking notes on my smartphone.
Which is fine, yeah.
Right. But from that perspective, so it's always with us. So therefore, because I believe there's this work-life integration, it's really up to the employer, for example, to create certain policies in the company to respect those boundaries. And just because you can have immediate access with the touch of a button doesn't necessarily mean that I expect a response. I'll give you an example. In my company, Mojo Media Labs, we're an online marketing agency, a content-driven agency. So the internet never shuts off. So we're working, or at least need to be connected 24/7. I wanted to send an email out to the staff last night. And so one of the things that we've done as a policy in our company that's not an emergency, we put on an email scheduler. So I can I can create my email, I can schedule it to go out at 8 a.m. this morning. So though I wasn't requesting a response right away, we have created the policy that the email goes out tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I can write it, get it off my mind, get it out the door. Usually where I do a lot of my work at night. But yet I'm not distracting them with their email buzzing at 10 o'clock at night.
So you're respecting their boundaries, and that's the part that technology has done. It's blurred those boundaries, and unless someone is respectful of that, as you obviously are, then you got a problem.
Exactly, and with that in mind, these generations that are coming up, I talk a lot about Generation Y, Generation Z. The oldest age of Generation Z right now is the age of 19. They're getting ready to come into the workforce, if not a lot of them already are. And Generation Z looks at an average of 5 screens a day, and they do this because of the fear of missing out. So because they are so connected, they're I'm not a huge fan of multitasking, but they have the ability, probably more than anybody, to multitask effectively. So with that, they're more connected than the average person. And I think we as employers want so much, and I have to believe this, want so much to build great cultures in our company where everybody's engaged into the why, the reason why we exist as a company. And I feel very incredibly blessed that in my company we have that. But my balance now is not getting people engaged. Sometimes it's getting people not engaged to back off a little bit and really kind of respect their time. So these younger generations that are coming up, particularly Z, but also X, oldest age 34, they're in the workforce. They've grown up with technology as well. They're now going into management, and they're managing these younger generations and maybe even sometimes older generations. And that, too, can become a conflict if they're not respecting other people's time.
We're talking with Michael Rose, workplace culture expert here this morning, about Wired and Tired. What do you do in terms of, are there other things you do in terms of respecting the boundaries of technology that seep into personal lives? You mentioned about, scheduling. Obviously you got an idea at a certain time, you send it out, but you have the courtesy of saying 8 a.m. this morning, then I'll go out and, people get up and they start to look at what they're going to do for the day. And that's the first thing I do is when I come in here, I'm going down my emails and making sure I didn't miss something. Last night when I come off the golf course, I'm checking emails for guests that are calling back and getting back to them right away, or voicemails. This morning, in fact, you and I communicated because you left me a message and I wanted to get right back to you. So, you respect those boundaries, but there are other things too. A lot of people, even if you do that, kind of still feel like, geez, I have got vacation time. I really don't want to take it because if I do that, I get behind. I know when I take vacation time, it takes me longer to set things up than it would if I was setting it up for the next day myself. So that you get that whole thing. And then when you come back, trying to kind of get back into that whole culture again of, okay, I'm here, I'm doing my work and so forth, is a little difficult too. I put an awful lot into one thought there. I'll let you separate it out, Mike.
You bet. It's ironic we're talking today. For example, here in my company, we have a dozen or so employees, and today we decided to have Keep Your Human at Home Day. So Mojo's a very pet-friendly company. Everyone has pets. So, we all talk about our pets and one thing or another, I think more than our children. So we just had a, Keep Your Human at Home Day. Everybody stay at home, work from home. But, and I think that's just an example of how work and life is becoming more and more integrated. We're bringing on more and more employees in a full-time capacity in remote work. So, people are even more encouraged to work in their homes. So if that's not integrated, I don't know what is. Yeah. So we have to, as employers, as managers, as benevolent, culture-minded leaders, have to, I believe, pay very, very close attention to how this work-life integration is happening and then build it into your culture. Another example, as a conversation I had with an employee yesterday morning, and on his timesheets, he had 23 hours in the past 2 days. Monday, Tuesday of this week, he recorded 23 hours. And I had to call this person up, and I had to say, listen, I'm not happy with you right now. And I want to be very, very clear. So the reason why I'm not happy with you, I'm unhappy with you because of the amount of time you logged in. I said, either that's me not doing my job by giving you too much, setting too high of expectations for you, or it's you going above and beyond for your clients, which I can't argue with, but what can I do to help? What can I do to help you get to within a respectable amount of time to where you still feel like you have control in delivering value to the client, where then you feel like you're meeting my expectations as well. So it was a fun conversation, let me say it that way, but I grounded it with my reasoning of what if I have the vision in my company to go a 4-day work week. So we'll never get there if people are putting in 12-hour days.
You know, it's amazing. I remember a lot of memos that have gotten sent to me over the years. And usually what they are is, hey, you guys are doing a great job and so forth and so forth. And I'm one of those, when I read the memo, I say, okay, where's the but? But this bad thing is happening. You did just the opposite of that. You went about it saying, hey, listen, I'm not very happy with you right now. And all of a sudden, man, your ears perk up. You say, oh, what's going on? You're working a lot of extra time. How can I make you more efficient? What can I? But the point that you made there is, what can I do to help you, eliminate some of that and make sure that you're working maybe more effectively, more efficiently, and also retaining more time for yourself and maybe your family in the long run.
Absolutely, because again, in my company, what we do social media and search engine optimization, and we write a lot of content for our clients in the forms of blogs and videos and infographics and things like that. So I only mention that because that's not a 9-to-5 job. It's almost like working in healthcare. You have to stay on top of, particularly in the areas of social media, Google News alerts, things like that. The news doesn't wait for us. So because we have to be so responsive to our clients' needs, what we have started to do is communicate to our clients, Mr. and Mrs. Client, this is Mojo Media Labs. These are our values as an organization. We have 6 core values that we make all of our decisions on across the board: hiring, firing, and now we're taking it to clients to where then say, these are our core values, and this is the culture I want to build. We post our core values on our website. You can go to mojomedialabs.com about us. You can see our 6 core values, and so I think it's important for companies to align their core values with client core values, because if a client's going to be a driver, in the agency world, with all due respect to those amazing clients we have out there, they don't value time. They value results, and they value marketing activities. So it's up to us as an agency to be good stewards of our client's budget, but we have to be experts at converting that budget, that money, into time. And the most efficient way we can do that possible requires good culture alignment, as well as writing policies and procedures internally and holding people accountable for those for the right reasons.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website right now, mojomedialabs.com, and really an interesting way you go about doing business. I saw something. I was in Ireland a few years ago on a golf vacation, and I was there for like 8 days, and we stayed in Killarney. And one of the things that I noticed was in the afternoon, we would go down to, some stores and some shops and so forth in the afternoon. They were closed. It was like they made this pact that everybody's going to close up during the afternoon. People were off taking naps and taking a break for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and then they come back and reopen business for a few hours, and then they're closed again. I was reading about a concept called collective restoration, where it's kind of the concept that you send everybody away on a vacation at the same time, and they say that contagion of happiness and all those kind of things that go with it become kind of pandemic. I want to talk to you about that idea of collective restoration when we come back here, Michael. We're talking this morning with Michael Rose, workplace culture expert and associated with Mojo Media Labs. You can check it out at mojomedialabs.com. He'll be right back. And you can make your calls, too, at 1-800-357-0910 if you've got questions about the topic, right here on The Gary Sutton Show on News Radio 910 WSBA. Can you get a vacation from technology? Can you get away so you have a little bit of collective restoration where everybody maybe gets away? One of the things maybe we could do is what they did in, I believe it was in Sweden, where basically they all took vacation at the same time, and in summer they could take 4 weeks of vacation. They get 5 weeks vacation. What's that like? The United States, by the way, is the only advanced economy with no national vacation policy, unless you count Suriname, Nepal, and Guyana. 1 in 4 workers, typically in low-wage jobs, have no paid vacation at all. Those that do get it, on an average, 10 to 14 days a year. And a lot of the American workers don't even take all their vacation days. We're with Michael Rose this morning, workplace culture expert, and with mojomedialabs.com. Michael, we talked about this idea of collective restoration, but the idea that you give everybody off. What's your thought about that whole concept?
This is a perfect segue since we're in Pennsylvania. I live in Dallas, Texas. I grew up in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is my home state, and I grew up in my father's business, and in the small town of Brockway, Pennsylvania, essentially the town shut down at noon on Wednesdays, and I grew up in that environment that at noon, 1 o'clock on Wednesdays, the business was closed down on this little main street, and people went home, spent time with their families. It was really remarkable, and that was just what I grew up with. And then now, in mainstream business, clearly that's not the case. So I don't know if it's getting back to our roots, or if it's servicing the new generations that are coming up, where they don't live to work like previous generations. They work to live, and so from that perspective, I think that it's definitely moving in the direction that we need to reconsider the amount of time we put into it, and then reevaluate the efficiency we are putting the time in it.
We know of one place in the country that comes close to Brockway, maybe that would be Washington D.C., where everyone takes off at some time, and they take some pretty serious vacations in Washington, D.C. The president's getting a 15-day vacation. Now, I realize when you're president, you carry a lot of things with you, but, Congress is off for 5 weeks. Now, a lot of them are working in their district and so forth, and yet Washington's one place that seemed to have said, hey, yeah, we'll take vacation. But one of the things that they found out here, that you get a good mood, and the good mood is contagious when you have people taking off. I wonder how it was, just using Brockway as a great example. How was it around a fairly happy place, I imagine, right?
It was fantastic. I mean, it was like a holiday on Wednesdays. You know how you feel right before holiday or right before a vacation? It kind of had that kind of atmosphere, and that was exciting. I mean, I didn't know what that was, because I was growing up working in my dad's business at 9-10 years old, but I just remember it not being very stressful. And I mentioned earlier that I would love to move towards a 4-day work week at Mojo and still keep, if not exceed, our client expectations. But I'm sure some of my people are listening right now, or they'll get hold of this recording. But I want to move to an unlimited vacation schedule, where if you want to take a vacation, you take a vacation, where you have unlimited vacation time. Because I know the culture that we have, they will first and foremost take care of the customer.
Right.
And if that means they take care of the customer on vacation in a very respectful area, or when somebody does go on vacation, that somebody's got their back, or a team's got that person's back. And what leads me to think that this would work very, very well for us, and more importantly, our employees, is we have a current employee, a senior strategist, out on for surgery, and he's out for an extended period of time. And it's amazing to me how everyone just kind of surrounded him and supported him through this time. Now, he wasn't going on vacation. He was going for a medical leave, which probably led to a different level of support. But the support was there, and the ingredients are there. And that's pretty exciting for me to see happen without my involvement, because now people are watching each other's back to take care of their peers, but also knowing that ultimately it's about delivering superior client.
Doesn't that speak to the atmosphere you've developed? I mean, that really is what it speaks to from where I'm sitting. By the way, we'll have this up at facebook.com/910 WSBA tomorrow. So we're going to call all of your employees and tell them to make sure they listen into this very, very carefully. By the way, one of the things on a vacation, we have about a minute and a half left. One long-term study found that men who don't take vacations are 30% more likely to have heart attacks than those who do. And for women, it's 50%. Women who fail to take vacation are more likely to suffer from depression. So we see some of those things happen. So you just need a break. I was really impressed by what you said a moment ago about taking vacation when you want to. Not everybody's in a position or in a company that fosters the same kind of attitude you do. So what would you tell them? We got about a minute to go. You final word.
Absolutely. I wrote a book called ROE, Return on Energy. ROE powers ROI. You can find it on Amazon.com. And the reason why I say ROE powers ROI is that it's people over profit. When employers, leaders, managers, they focus on the people first and profit second, amazing things happen. And I'm not saying don't focus on profits. We need profits as an organization so we can hire more people. What I say is it's not that we don't have enough clients. We don't have enough people. And from that perspective, when you start following the ROE, the return on energy methodology, looking at people over profits, some pretty amazing things start to happen within the company and the culture in particular. And the clients appreciate that because I believe it drives customer satisfaction.
ROE powers ROI. Check it out on Amazon. Michael, I can't tell you how much fun I've had with you this morning, and we are going to put that up at Facebook.com/910WSBA tomorrow. We will not call your employees, though, but thank you so much for some really interesting thoughts on this, and let's tell everybody, take a vacation every now and then. Get away from it all. Put the phones down. Put the stuff down. You're going to be a lot happier in the long run. Michael, I look forward to our next time soon.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Mine too. Thank you. Michael Rose with us on the Gary Sutton Show.